Isn't it fair to say that if the tables were turned and the Republican nominee was spending as much as Obama and Biden, that the Democrats would be flipping out saying that the Republicans were buying the election?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. This happens. We've seen this in the past. You know, when John Kennedy got elected, everybody thought his daddy did it. You know, that they bought the primaries in West Virginia and places like that, and then went on to buy. That's regular. But you know, what really interests me is at this point, with huge problems we've got in this country, with the big issues facing the country, that here on a night when Obama's in Hawaii and the Republicans have sort of the airwaves to themselves, how small the stuff is we're talking about, how repetitive it seems to be. It's a measure, I think, of how much the Republicans are struggling to fill the airwaves with something interesting or exciting or different or new or provocative with some set of ideas.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, because literally we just got a soundbite from an interview that Sean Hannity did with Sarah Palin that was aired tonight. And she tried to kind of put a new spin on the Bill Ayers things, of all things, not really a new topic, but kind of a new spin on it. Let's play that and then see what you say.
The other part of that, Sean, is to ask the question, what did those characters see in Barack Obama? Why would they have wanted to be associated with him? Why would Ayers have wanted to kick off Barack Obama's political campaign in his living room?
It's sort of a new take on it, I guess, or at least I haven't heard that before. Alex, is that going to get him anywhere?
Well, it's going to maybe get him all those votes they've already got on Fox, I would suspect. But no, you know, if you haven't figured out a message beyond that in 2 years, you're probably not going to figure it out in the last 2 weeks. And right now it's almost really too late to come up with it, pull a rabbit out of the hat and a new message. Whatever horse they're on, and I'm not sure I can tell, they just ought to ride it. Other than that, buy some scotch and good cigars. see if we can get John King to make Arizona bigger on the electoral map, and that might do it.
But you see it really, you do see it that way. You see it as they're all over the place?
Well, I think, you know, one of the things that we have to go back and ask is, why in the spring and why in the summer didn't the Republican Party and the McCain campaign say, look, this election's about one thing, whether we're going to keep America the strongest economy in the world. We've got a new global frontier, all kinds of opportunities, all kinds of competition. To do that, we got to change Washington. That's what I'm good at. But America, you know, America first. Country first. Country first could have meant we're going to strengthen this economy and how we're going to do it. But we've waited until very, very late to really start talking about the economy, until it actually melted down. And so it's a defensive posture on it. Imagine what would have happened if McCain had spent the summer talking about the economy. And we might have been in a different world.
Paul, David was saying before that he thinks sort of 3 or 4 days is the window that McCain has to kind of do something. Do you agree with that? And if so, do you have any recommendations for him? I know that's not your job, but you do like to put on hats.
Yeah, I would say, apparently what they said to Walter Mondale when he was going down to a certain defeat against Ronald Reagan, apparently they said to him, well, you know, Mr. Vice President, why don't you campaign the way you want your grandchildren to remember you? And that's what I would tell Senator McCain. You know, he is a man of profound personal courage, and the suffering and service he gave this country ought to be honored, and particularly by Democrats like me. Why not go out with some class and some dignity? You know, you're unlikely to win anyway. But, you know, there are things worse than losing an election, and right now he is at risk.
So are you saying point blank there is no way he can win?
I'm not quite where James is. You know, he had that colorful metaphor about calling the dogs and peeing on the fire that the hunt was over, but I'm not quite there. But it's very hard to imagine a scenario under which McCain wins. But, you know, why not? Listen to what Alex was saying. You know, why not go big? Why not talk about calling us to be something greater than ourselves, rather than, you know, they started out attacking Barack on sex education. Remember that one? Like he was some kind of a pervert or something. Then he was palling around with terrorists. Then he was a socialist. It's all been small, and it's all been petty, and it's all hurt John McCain. It's driven his vote down. So I guess honestly, if I was working for him, I'd say, look, you're going to go down in history for your heroism. Why not end this campaign with the dignity that you've shown in the past?
David, a couple of weeks ago, during one of the, I think it was after one of the debates, frankly, this whole year is now starting to blend together, but I think it was after one of the debates, you said there was still this kind of unknown quantity of race, and I hate to even bring it up, but is that still in your mind a question in terms of what's going to happen on election night?
First of all, amen to what Paul Begala just said. And yes, Anderson, I think the racial issue still lurks here, and we don't know how it's going to play out. There are 2 or 3 unknowns. There's the racial question. There's the question of whether these young people who are such an important part of the Obama coalition, whether they'll truly turn out. In the early voting in North Carolina and Florida, we're now told that young people are underrepresented in those who are voting. Does that mean that they're not going to be voting in the numbers that we thought they would on Election Day? So there are some imponderables here, but I think that the realization is setting in that Barack Obama is beginning to pull away. It's not just that it's not closing, it's going the other way. And under those circumstances, race then becomes, even though it will play a role, may not be enough to overcome everything else going on.
Sarah Palin was asked by Brian Williams tonight if she is a feminist. I want to play our viewers the answer. Part of the answer.
I'm not going to label myself feminist or not, but I do believe that American women can recognize in me an advocate and a friend, and I want to be in the White House for them.
That's actually different than what she told Katie Couric last month when she said she was indeed a feminist. Why a different answer? I mean, is there anything there? I mean, maybe we're at the stage where we're just talking about such little details that people are parsing every word. But Alex, do you make anything of the answer?
You know, there's a lot more to Sarah Palin than we've had a chance to see in this campaign. Here was somebody who did have great numbers in Alaska. Here's somebody who took on their own party. We all know the story. Took on big oil companies and actually had some success. And then it became kind of captured by the campaign, and we all know what it's like to become a vice presidential candidate inside a campaign. You become very heavily scripted. There's very little, including the William Mayers palling around with terrorists thing. You know, those weren't her words. Those were campaign words. And we haven't really had a chance to see Sarah Palin, and I think there are moments where we do. And that was one of them, where she is more than just a base pick for to reinforce the Republican base, where we see that she's kind of a new generation of Republican. If McCain does not win this election, it'll be interesting to see if she can grow to become that, again, that kind of Republican who goes beyond the base to the new generation.
Do you have any doubt she's a big feature in the Republican Party nationally?
I think she can have. I really do. I think, you know, the only time the McCain campaign was successful in this and tied Barack Obama and even pulled ahead in some polls was when Sarah Palin was not just the Republican base, but she was an outsider who's going to change Washington. And by the way, I want to make it clear, I'm not saying that Republicans should just have a campaign for these last 2 weeks of hugs and kisses and America's a great country and I want my grandchildren to remember me as a nice guy. No, McCain needs to continue to fight, but there's a right way and wrong way to do it. And the right way to do it is say, look, we've got great opportunities. Let's and the Democrats are going to screw all this up, and we can take you to a better place.
We got to move it along. David Gergen, Alex Castellanos, Paul Begala. I know Paul's eager to get back to his yurt, whatever he does in that yurt.